Hey team, just want to do a comparison of what I'm seeing in GDK and staging versus like where I see us going. Particularly want to contrast the self-managed experience in the admin area versus the SaaS experience for top-level groups and the people that are administrating that as a group owner. So I want to call out the differentiation of these experiences based off of like if all the feature flags were turned on right now in development to highlight that we have to account for all the things that are maybe unseen by everybody else, but that we know are in the code base under the hood because we have to account for those things as we rearrange things, move them around. So if someone were giving me the task tomorrow to go make an overhaul of these pages, this is maybe how I would approach it, although I'm loose on the visual details, just more about how we go about it, I think is where I'm trying to move us towards. So left-hand side here, the admin area, this is my GDK. This GitLab Duo Pro page has turned out to be this magnetizing point to draw people to. And some of the features that have been put in here representing that, like the code completion test that's being ran that evaluates if the code suggestions is going to work with an IDE. And so I want to illustrate all the touch points that you have to go to right now with GDK and compare that to the design proposal on the right, which highlights more of the single point of entry, acting as like the front door and the way to get to everything else. So in GDK right now, all you get on this first page is the seat assignment, as well as a little bit of that test, like I was saying. But you're missing the other aspects. So you would also need to go to, let's say, um, the general settings. So if I go to settings, and you would need to go down to the AI powered features area to then discover the setting options here. So you now have two different pages you got to go to. Um, Instead of comparing it to our design on the right, you're getting both the status of what is Duo's health in terms of the setup, but also its availability for groups in that instance. So it's on by default. I'm also getting the same sort of information, but I'm just communicating it through high level bullets. So again, features that you can get, maybe the option to use would be like automatic seat assignment or um, experimental beta features, the direct connections. And I'm showing a few new options here, specifically like the self-hosted model one and automatic seat assignment because it's like behind a feature flag, so it's a bit of a weird one to get to. Um, but yeah, so like let's say with self-hosted models being on, like the way you go figure that out is you'd have to go to the AI powered features, you have to go to the self-hosted model page and turn that on, which then gives you this card layout of the models that you've added and where they're pointing to. And so now you can see how that information is being surfaced up. Now, since I have self-hosted models on, I'm also getting the same layout options that are presented on these pages for now. This could always change, but this gives you a solid overview right at the start. So instead of having to go also to the features and see everything around AI-powered features that are related to those self-hosted models, you can then have that information right up front. So again, like we've eliminated the need to have multiple nav items. We've eliminated needing to have a separate distinct area for the settings specifically, because from this page, we could go into seat assignment and we could play with the different statistic attributes that we use to give users call to action. I was thinking in this idea here, when we could continue using our current card around seat utilization, but just pull over the subscription start date to somewhere else. I don't think we necessarily need to be suggesting what to use Duo for, perhaps. I don't think that makes sense to the persona probably viewing this page. Instead, perhaps maybe it makes more sense to tell them like, hey, like you're not on auto renewal, so this is how many days you have left in your subscription. To give them some sense of urgency, they either need to like purchase more seats or renew their contract, whatever it might be. So yeah, going back from there, the piece that I personally really need to focus on is this method for testing the setup on the instance. So right now I'm just calling it like the health check, and I like this idea of keeping this rather small in stature to give the rest of the page the ability to make it easy to scan, and progressively disclosing the feedback that you get from this check, potentially in something like an accordion. I like the idea of kind of playing with it in terms of like looking and feeling like a system response, even if it's not truly structured like that. Just giving very simple response messages that kind of highlight what is working and what's not. I'm just showing the happy path now, but you would just simply hit the run health check to generate a new health check and test and verify your setup here. Now I'm going to contrast this now to the group field because this is going to be much different. So for jumping over to a group, I'm now using staging. It's a little hard to go back and forth with GDK on self-managed to SaaS. So let's just use what's on staging as the example. Again, you have this GitLab Duo page, which we've added recently in settings, and it's acting as that magnetizing point. But you're also missing the configuration piece. So right now, the way that a group owner has to go manage that is they go over to general. They'd have to go down to the permission and groups feature, and that's where you'll find the GitLab Duo Pro seats and GitLab Duo Pro features, enforcement, and the experimental beta. So again, like we're still kind of giving that same information, like is it available to all those subgroups and projects? What's the status of experimental beta? Is that automatic seat assignment on? Again, because it's behind the feature flag. And the configuration page is going to look different here. So I'm like showing the early access program because we're considering putting this banner up there. But there's less options here comparatively to the admin. So you have the ability to turn on, off, always off where it might be, never on, the feature preview, the seat assignment. Whereas with the admin, you have similar but have more options because of the self-hosted model one, where like once you've turned that on, you can't go back. So I was trying to also highlight how that happens. So like once you've enabled self-hosted models, like you can never check this off, at least for now, from how I understand it, Tim. But yeah, I'm trying to better call out even things like the direct connection method because that is kind of a confusing setting to me right now in the admin area. I don't have capacity at the moment to go through all these nitty-gritty details around how we create the verbiage around these, how we organize them together, but this gives us a single configuration page in the admin area, a single configuration page in the group area too. So there's not all these multiple pages that people are having to go stem from because they're going to a single front door option. Again, same deal. We could play with the assigned seat page. Perhaps instead of showing the days to renewal, perhaps we can play with the active users. I think we have the option to define what this could look like. I'm not entirely convinced this is what we want to do, but I just think it's a little more useful than just, I don't know, telling you your trial start date on the other side. You can convince me otherwise. It's essentially just this card just up top instead of over there. So we can play with the details, but what I just wanted to highlight is how I see kind of those two things playing out. Happy to share the prototype to both if you want to check them out.